Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and Three Counts, and you know the drill. Before we get to the show, I gotta tell you the fine folks that are helping bringing this episode to you. And first off, it's our homies over at Potter's Tree Service. If you're in the need for tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, or lot clearing, hit up Asa Potter. Hit up Potter's Tree Service. Let them know Knockouts and Three Counts seen you. There you go. There's the number. Don't call Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Call Potter's Tree Service and enjoy the show. Bang.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though, Chris? What up, though, everybody? This is Knockouts and Three Counts. But with that being said, man, we've got a lot to talk about. With all that being said, I see the comments in the thing, but we've got the return of our guy, Drew Morais. We got a lot to talk about. His new gym, All Day MMA and Jiu Jitsu. We'll get to that. We'll get to the fights that went down at Motor City Casino. Man, we got a lot to talk about. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing better because I didn't go postal and I'm not at work anymore. Corey J-Bone, how the hell are you?
Dude, we got spring back again. Remember last week we were talking shit about the weather? It's back again. Nobody acted out this time. That means spring's here, man.
I was going to say, man, you know my ass on a warm day. I'm out taking one of the helmets. Right or left, I'm picking one of them. I'm taking one of them helmets out on a nice warm day. So got me a couple miles in. Can't complain, man.
Who's going to be the first to fire up the grill? I want to know.
I mean, I was just eating some ribs beforehand, but luckily for me, those were carry out, so I didn't have to cook them. I just threw them in the microwave right quick, and we were straight. But, dude, we're on the countdown. You guys need to be getting out the grill when I head to Philly, man. That's what you need to be asking. What's on the grill, J-Bone, for WrestleMania? What the fuck?
Dude, you could be out there eating Philly cheesesteaks, bro.
I said while I'm gone enjoying the shit, y'all got to be eating good on the grill. Somebody's got to be eating good here.
I'll be cooking something up. I'll be throwing a WrestleMania party. Then, it'll be all right. It'll be more. I'll be drinking my dinner that night probably, but it's all good.
Hey, some days it be like that. But let's get back to the matter at hand. Drew, man, it's been good to see you. I just was down there in Motor City, saw all the fights out there. But before we get to fight night and all those things that are going down there, talk to me about All Day MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, and MMA. Why the new gym? What made it the right time to do it? And talk to me about what y'all got going down and where you guys are at.
Yeah, we're located over in Flat Rock. It kind of all started a long time ago, something I always wanted to do. I always said I want to be a coach. I always thought I was a better coach than I was fighter, or I was even a better wrestling coach than I was wrestler. So I figured, something I excel at was coaching and bringing out the best in people, and I truly enjoy helping people. So I thought, now's the time. I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu. I was like, you know what? I hate going to work every day, work for somebody else. I'm just gonna work for myself now.
Hell yeah, man. I like it, that entrepreneur mindset. So, talk to me about that, man. Now you guys have got the gym up. Let everybody know where you guys are at and what y'all got to offer, man.
So we're located out in Flat Rock, right off Telegraph Road. We do everything from kids Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, adult Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling. We got the works there, man. I bring in good coaches all the time. Just rather recently, I believe about 2 weeks ago, I had my professor there, Don Richard, was there.
Hell yeah! Shout out to Big Don.
Oh yeah, shout out to Big Don. We talked about there's another damn mosquito in my house
already.
Yeah,
that's how you know it's heating up.
I'm telling you, bro. Get out of here. Anyways, but yeah, so that was really cool having Big Don there. Everybody's showing, because they see the stuff from me, but then they see it from Don, and they actually believe it works when it comes from Don. And I'm like, well, dude, I just showed you the same shit.
I feel that Don's my coach as well. So shout out to Biggie Don. I'll be out there with him soon.
I love Big Don. That's my dude. So yeah, everything's going good, man. We got a nice little. We're growing. It's been about 2.5 months now. Not many MMA fighters, but the ones that I have they're really good. A lot of good jiu-jitsu guys. They got a lot of good kids jiu-jitsu. It's really cool, experience. I got my sons in there doing jiu-jitsu with me, and it's a nice little family atmosphere. But the culture in the gym is really cool, man. Everybody hangs out with each other. We all get along great. We got a nice little brotherhood going on in there, and that's what I wanted. I wanted us all to have each other's backs and a place to go where it's fun, and you feel like you're around family.
I like it. Talk to me about the kids program. I know Corey was just talking about that when we was down there at the Motor City fights, man. I mean, that's a good thing to see. I'm loving seeing all these gyms that got kids programs and all this stuff now, man, because like we've talked about before in past episodes with you guys, which if you guys are new and haven't done so yet, make sure you hit the motherfucking subscribe button so you don't miss any of the good content coming from the homies at Knockouts 3 Counts. But with that being said, man, I'm loving the expansion of kids jiu-jitsu and kids Muay Thai and all these things. I think it's a great thing to see in all these kids training there. What do y'all got for the kids down there, man? Because I'm loving seeing all this stuff.
So the kids program, that's where you get a lot of your numbers at, and the kids are the future, right? So rather I'm teaching them jiu-jitsu, but I'm teaching them a lot about life. The thing with jiu-jitsu or any type of sport for that matter, but the way I use jiu-jitsu for this man would say that like jiu-jitsu, you get what you put in. You get back what you put in, right? You put hard work, you get great results. Same thing with life, right? You put the hard work in, you get good results. And nothing is ever given to you in this life, and nothing's ever given to you in jiu-jitsu. You earn every step of the way. I'm trying to teach these kids that, through discipline, structure, a good, solid, positive foundation for these kids to come into, and I think it's doing really good. At first it was super chaotic because I never coached kids. This is my first time coaching kids, and I do have a bunch of kids, but I never coached kids. And I'm used to like MMA fighters, high school wrestlers, college wrestlers. I'm talking like savages. And then I get a bunch of kids, and it's like, this is crazy. They're running around everywhere. I'm like, whoa, what did I get myself into? But I'm learning just as they are. So it's great. But it's really cool now because like watching the kids actually do jiu-jitsu now instead of flopping around everywhere. I'm like, it's really cool watching these kids, and little 5-year-olds re-guarding, hitting arm bars and stuff. It's really cool to watch. Great group of kids, man. Awesome group of kids. So yeah, it's great, man.
I love it, dude. Well, Corey, we were down at the Motor City cage fights. Shout out to Carlos Linas and everybody down there doing the big fight down there. Y'all had a few fights down there. Talk to me about your MMA program. You told me that it's not that big of a program yet, but you said you've got some diamonds in the rough. So tell me about some of these guys that you got down there. Talk to me about the program y'all got going over there. And let's talk about what you had at Motor City Fight Night because, dude, I've heard of some pretty wild shit, okay? We're a pro wrestling show. But, I mean, fighting a 500-pound guy in an MMA fight is like some WWE type shit, which goes into the pro wrestling side of our show. But we got to talk about that in a minute. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about the MMA over at All Day MMA and Jiu Jitsu.
So, yeah, we, with right now, like I said, we're not super, the MMA program is not super big, which I kind of like, though, because now I get more time to, focus on, the 5-6 guys that I have, give them, the full attention. I think with now that high school wrestling's getting over, a lot of those seniors are not going to know what to do. Rather I'm going to go to college, and then they're going to kind of get that void, like I need something, and then they're going to come. They want to be fighters, And I think I give it time. It's only been, I get kind of frustrated at times, but other times it's kind of like, what, it's still early. It's going to take off. Once I start getting more fighters out there fighting, people are going to see what we're offering, know that we're the real deal, and they're going to come to us. And when that happens, it happens. If not, either way, I'm good. The gentlemen that I have on my team now, a couple of the guys on my team, they're good, really good. You guys be seeing them soon. You've seen one of them already. Actually, you've seen 2 of them. One fought on Lights Out too. So they're all, they all come from really, really good wrestling backgrounds. So we're growing, you know, and of course we're not growing as fast as I would like, but that's life and that's business, you know, and it's going to take time. So yeah, I'm stoked, man, for the future. It's going to be great.
All right, so talk to me about Jay, man. We got to talk about that first. Actually, you know, Corey, we did get to see. You're talking about Dom, right? Dom fought for Lights Out Championship, and if I'm not mistaken, he had a pretty tough fight and then got himself a W in that one, didn't he?
No. He was winning the fight. And got
or no, that's right. That was it. He was winning the fight, and then it ended up doing the switch. I do remember this fight. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and then something I want to talk about with that fight really quick, though, is that something that irks me is that Dom got suspended after that fight.
Oh no.
He popped. He took that fight on a couple day notice and popped for marijuana.
Ah,
but how if it's legal?
And Dom has his medical card too. So this is my gripe with the state. It's like they're they said it's a performance enhancing drug. Okay, that's cool. But are you guys tested for steroids? Nah, you're not. So that's a real performance enhancing drug. So we got to meet with the state to get him back next week. So hopefully his suspension's about up because that kid is ready to get back out there. And the Dom that you guys seen at Lights Out, that's not who he is. He's much better than that. And he's really, really excited to get out there and actually, show what he really, really is about.
Well, dude, how is that still enforceable?
They're testing for marijuana, but not steroid?
Yes, a real performance drug. And what got me was the literature they used. They said that he was ruining the integrity of the sport and the safety of the sport, right? So then they sent back then they got the toxicology report. And I'm reading it, because I went to school for like substance abuse counseling. Like I'm used to seeing this kind of stuff. And I'm reading it. I'm going, nowhere on there does it show his levels. So to me, it's like prove he was high during the fight.
Yeah, so they could just be tracing whatever was in his system.
So I told him
he was high.
Yeah, I said, "Dad, be upfront with me, because whatever. I don't care. He has his medical card. He's got his stuff. He's got to smoke for. Okay, dude, that's cool, bro. I'm pro marijuana. Do your thing, dude.
I respect it, man. I got Crohn's disease.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was talking to him about it. He goes, Drew, I smoked the morning of weigh-ins. I'm like, well, hold on one second. How'd you smoke the morning of weigh-ins, bro? I'm usually hungry as shit at weigh-ins. And I was like that day, I'm like, that's the worst day for me to smoke. And he's like, no, he goes, I don't even get munchies no more. He's like, I just did it to calm my nerves. He goes, but I didn't smoke the day of. I was like, this is crazy. This is his first offense. His opponent apparently popped for marijuana too.
So they're both suspended.
Yeah. So it's just a wild situation.
Though, man. That's such a gray area now.
It doesn't seem right to me with it being sanctioned, with it legal in our state. The young man has his medical card. Mm-hmm. And I'm ready to speak up about this because it doesn't seem right. I'm sorry, but it's not a performance enhancer. If I smoke, I don't want to do anything. I most certainly do not want to fight anybody. So, I don't know. We're going by, this next week, with how this meeting is going to go. I'm assuming, he should be. It's already been almost 2 months now, so he shouldn't be suspended much more than maybe another month. If we're good to go, the plan is to get him back on Friendo's next card when he comes back to Wayne. So, and then
I like it. I'll be back on the call April 13th for the next joint out in Muskegon with the return of past guest of the show, Brett Martin. Shout out to him making his way back to the cage. I'm ready for them to come back down river too as well. But yeah, dude, that's
probably want to move on from that. But I feel like they're like targeting a certain like stigma there, right?
Oh yeah, they're totally 100%.
Like, come on, dude. Marijuana is used for so many things now. There's a science.
I love where I'm from, but that's obnoxious, man. As a state where you literally cannot drive down any highway without seeing billboard after billboard after billboard of weed, like, I mean, come on now. You passed recreational so that it's over 21 is free to use at home. What's the difference between having a beer? I don't get why they're still implementing that in a fight tech, standard way. And especially when you look at what other commissions have already done with the likes of like Vegas and stuff, where they don't even bother testing for it anymore. And just like you say, I mean, I don't know if that's a hill you want to go dying on, but it definitely seems like something you should, stand out. Say your piece at least.
But at the end of the day, we're still dealing with government, so we're not going to win that battle no matter what.
Oh no, no matter what.
So, but it doesn't mean I can't say what I have to say. And I will always say what I have to say. And I'm
a platform for that kind of thing. And I mean, I agree with you as somebody who has Crohn's disease and deals with all that stuff. I can only speak to how much it's helped with my Crohn's and things like that. And, really, if anything, again, like you said, if we're not testing for steroids, but we're testing for weed, I mean, let's be honest. If anything, if you go into a fight bloated, you're not going to be like a little bit, your reaction time maybe a little less or something like that. Let's go with that. If anything, wouldn't you say that it would? I mean, I don't feel like it would, but you talk about how it'd hinder something more than it's going to help you, but yet we can do steroids. All right, cool.
Bro, if I went into a fight high, I'd be straight up be like, bro, can we just go talk about this by the concession stand? Like let's figure another way out, man.
Speaking of the man in any walks, what up, though, Biggie Don?
There he is.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's something they got to work on. Like Corey said, maybe not a hill you want to die on, but it needs to be at least brought up in these meetings because, like you said, if we're not testing for steroids, come on, dude. It's not giving you an advantage by any means here. I know nobody that's ever smoked weed and said, hey, I want to go fuck somebody up now. That's just not like a thing. So
no, I want to eat Reese's and chill. That's it.
Yeah, they need to work on that. Hopefully they do.
Yeah, I doubt it, but but on the other token though too, the sanctioning in the state of Michigan is still very young. So I mean so there's of course there's kinks to work out, and I have a friend, personal friend of mine that's on a commission, and I called him instantly, and I'm not going to put his name out there, but he was just like, Drew, you can go fight this if you want. Because I was just like, no, we're going to fight this. This isn't right. He goes, you can fight this if you want, but you won't win. You'll be wasting your time. And I was like, well, it's coming from him, and he's giving me knowledge.
I know what you mean. I know what you're putting down. Like I said, it sucks that we're still in an age where you still have to deal with that kind of stuff, man. It's wild because, again, like I said, if we're not going to test for steroids, how can you then turn around and say something about weed? But again, to your point, I've got a good feeling that somebody you might be talking about is a few of the same people I know in those circles. So with that being said, I know what they're saying. It's a battle where even though you might be right, you might not win that one. Don's chiming in. They won't test for steroids because it's too expensive. They would rather pop young guys so they can collect their taxes.
Go back to that whole government thing.
I mean, he would know. I mean, he's been my coach since 2006, and I mean, that was around when MMA was getting legalized here. So, I mean, he'd know with the growth of it. But I agree with you 100%. That's a shitty thing for somebody to catch a suspension for. Hopefully, like you said, it's one of those things where it's not going to be like a super long suspension for him on this one. But that brings me to the other fight that we were talking about, man. Talk to me, and we're talking about Michigan and its sanctioning bodies and all that stuff. So you can't smoke weed, but you could fight a 500-pound guy in a heavyweight fight. Please talk to me about the thought process behind this fight. Talk to me about training for this fight, and why the hell did you take this matchup? Talk to me about training for a 500-pound fighter, bro.
All right, so we'll start with how this fight manifests. Jeff went to two back-to-back training camps. Both opponents backed out. So this kid was ready just to gnaw off his own arm. Like, this kid was ready. Now, this kid is a competitor. This kid was a college All-American wrestler. Like, he's a competitor. He wanted to compete. And, another option came for him for this weekend. It would have been this weekend, March 15th. But I happened to be out of town, and Jeff said, I don't want to fight unless you're there. I said, cool. So I got a hold of Bruce, and Bruce is like, get a hold of Carlos. He has somebody. So Carlos sent over the name. And at first, we only thought he was 400 pounds.
Because that was a lot better.
It was. I wasn't good about that. So then we found out this dude's over 500. And I'm like, okay. So then I started doing some research, and then I started to kind of Google, and then I came across this article on MLive about how this young man wanted to get into this journey to lose weight. I'm like, that's respectable. I love that. Like, that's great.
That's dope.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's sweet. Kudos, dude. And so I talked to Jeff about it, and I told Jeff, I said, Jeff, I don't feel comfortable with this fight. It's not that I don't think you can beat him. I was like, I just don't want him landing on you wrong or something happening like that. And he begged me. He's like, I have to get in there. I was like, okay, let's do it. So training for this fight was it was.
How long out did you know?
Huh?
How long out did you guys know about the opponent? So like, how long did you get to train for somebody that big?
Probably a couple weeks. But he, like I said, he already put back-to-back training camps together. He was in shape. He was ready to go. Jeff had actually put on some weight for the fight. Jeff walks, leaves the gym about 245, 250. He's also in the process of going down to 205. So when we got this fight, he's like, just eat, like just enjoy whatever you want, get as heavy as you can, every pound counts, and so
that's a different mindset from normal. Every pound counts is usually the other way around.
So like he ramped up his strength and conditioning. We ramped up his cardio. A lot of his we have a lot of it because Jeff's a wrestler. We wanted the fight on the ground. But it was a lot of working. A lot of cage work, trying to keep that guy from putting his weight on top of us. And the game plan was to go out there, wear him down, drag him deep waters, and then drown him. But then the fight happened. Well, training for the fight was rather difficult because, I'm 158 pounds. I'm not 500, but trying to find big guys. We're bringing in people like we brought in Leroy Johnson. We brought in Ray Roshlow. We had big bodies for him.
I know both them guys.
Yeah, so not like they're not huge by any means, right?
But they're still athletic heavyweights, though.
Yes,
Leroy can move. Leroy can throw punches. So can Ray. I've seen both those guys, so I get what you mean.
Yeah, so we brought them in, and they usually came in like, once or twice a week, and Leroy was a big help because, I can coach, but there's things that heavyweights do that I just don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Like just moving body manipulation, stuff like that. So having Leroy in there and sharing that knowledge was great. And I'm learning with them. I'm sitting right there watching. Like I'm going to learn because I might need to teach this someday to somebody. So I'm learning too, being a student. And that was really great to have him in there. And Big Ray came in and did like all stand up with Jeff. And other than that, like trying to find some bodies. So, it was hard, man. I thought about possibly throwing about 2 or 3 guys on his back at a time. I was just like, man, So the biggest thing was it was a lot of speed work. Trying to get caught underneath, don't get caught underneath, and you guys seen the fight happen, and it was we got it where we wanted it. We didn't expect it to go to the ground that quick, but he caught him with that clean Superman punch and he fell. I'm like, get on him! Like now's the time, And then before we found out when we got there, we could throw elbows, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And and he ended the fight with elbows, but it was awesome, and that just shows you that the character of Jay. He didn't care. He was like, dude, this dude's double my size, but I'm putting him out, and so he did what he did, and kudos to that guy too. And what I didn't like was I seen a lot of people kind of hating on the guy, and people laughing at the show and at the weigh-ins and stuff like that. That's not cool, man. Because like the people that are making jokes never made that walk. They don't have the balls to make that walk. You know what I'm saying? This guy does, and a lot of people don't understand it. This dude is a Golden Glove champ boxer. He was.
See, now I didn't know any of this coming into it. I wish I would have known some of this, and knowing that the guy got in there to lose weight is why he got in there to do that fight. I wish we would have known this. See, now this is the type of shit that I'd like to talk about on the show. See, now that would have made that fight a lot more interesting, but I didn't know any of this stuff, so this is good to hear.
So, like after the fight, like after the fight, I grabbed the dude's hand and like raised, everybody get up, give this dude a round of applause. This dude deserves this. Like you guys have been hating on this dude, like pretty much bullying this guy. That's not cool, And then the dude dropped down and did his splits. I was like, what? I'm like, that is awesome. Good for him. Good for him. And I hope this doesn't set him back at all. Like I hope this doesn't discourage him. I hope he keeps on with his journey because his winning a fight is not the ending goal for him. He's looking for a better, healthier life. And I think if he stays on that path with that mindset, he can reach his goal without a problem. And after the fight, he's like, I got to come train with you guys. I said, you're welcome anytime, man. He's up in Bay City. It's a drive, but everybody.
I was just there doing my first pro wrestling gig this past weekend. Shout out to UCW. That was Saginaw, but close enough.
Yeah, same thing. But yeah, so that fight went good. And Jay was like, I want to get right back in there. I said, no. Like you're on the shelf till June. Like we got some things we got to work on. And he was like, "Oh, come on." I said, "Buddy, listen, you're already a good wrestler. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Like, he's got good jiu-jitsu. I was like, you don't have many fights. For one, there's not many people for you to fight. Like, the heavyweight division is very thin right now in Michigan, unless we go out of state. So I was like, we're just going to polish everything up, get you down to 205, run the shop there, and then we'll go make some money, And so he's also looking for the June card, the same card as Dom over in Wayne.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to it. Shout out to the boss man, Matt Friendo. I will be back behind the mic for that one, April 13th. But, dude, that makes me – I wish I would have known this going into that with this fight. If you hear this, the guy that we're talking about, his 500-pound opponent, I would love to chat with this guy about that on the show because that just made that a lot more interesting to me on this one, dude. I definitely go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say, you could tell once the fight had wrapped up, he was all positive. He was, like you say, pulling out the splits, and he was all, you could tell he was in high spirits, or at least it seemed like.
That keeps me happy because what annoyed the hell out of me was, like I said, people were just dogging him. I'm like, bro, why don't you guys
see? But I think if people knew more about the situation, though, because all you see is the picture of the weigh-in and the face-off, and you're like, how the hell is? I mean, I'll be honest with you. My first thought was, how in the hell did this get sanctioned? I even messaged you when I found out it was one of your guys and was like, how is this happening right now? But now knowing that, now that makes sense. Now I think that's dope. But
also at the same token, though, people are assholes, man. They still find something to hate.
Yeah, you ain't wrong. You're not lying there.
What I'm saying is, if more people in this world were more focused on lifting people up instead of bringing them down, we would advance a lot quicker in this world. But everybody's
100%
to put everybody down. They're judging this man by what they see instead of actually knowing his story, And like I said, it's awesome what he's doing. And like I said, I hope he reaches his goal, whatever his goal may be. I hope, if he hears this, if there's anything I can do to help him, let me know. I got you, because I think this world should be more about helping people rather than trying to put people down, hold them back, and especially with this game too. Like we should all try to help each other and grow this sport together in this state.
I agree with that 100, bro. It definitely changes my whole outlook on that fight. Corey, how do you feel about that fight now, knowing what we know? I feel like if I had known that going into that fight, that would have made me look at that fight like 100 times different.
I mean, I feel like normally when you get a guy of that size, it's either one of two things. It's either a complete type of gimmick thing where they just don't take it serious, or they did, like you're saying, where they got into the sport in attempts to try to better themselves and hopefully potentially lose some weight and maybe find a healthy habit to be able to build themselves upon. And I feel like you said, to see the spirits and stuff like that, him try to pump the crowd up and stuff after the loss with the splits and stuff like that. I feel like he did a really good job of playing the moment up, and to your point, to hear the story and stuff like that. That's why I like doing this show, honestly, is because like we get to help spread those type of stories out. I mean, like you say, Kyle, it'd be cool to talk to the actual guy, but I mean, it's a good thing to see, and it's good to see that the sport is become that popular where that's like, people look at it like, hey, that's something I can do to kind of better myself and become healthy again,
Yeah,
100%, man.
Cool story.
Go ahead, Drew.
This is cool, it's an overall cool story, and I hope that people can see that and feel inspired to like, hey, let me find my reason why, my thing to do to get to get my my life on a good healthy track, and me personally, I think if I was in that shoes, I would have chose something a little safer than MMA or fighting, but
you said he's a Golden Gloves boxer, so he's already knows the risk of getting in the ring, so he figured if I got something to train for, maybe I'll stick to it.
Hey, like I said, dude, that's awesome, dude, and like I said, I truly hope he he finds what he's looking for, and my services are always offered to him at any time, anybody for that matter, you know what I'm saying? But like, it's really cool, man. And if Christian Rodriguez sees us, buddy, hit me up. I'll help you out any way I can. So,
shit, I hope he finds his way to us, man. We'd like to talk to him. That'd be cool.
I know Bruce is watching right now, so if you hear that, make sure you share that way. But dude, I said in the title and in the promo for this, what a weekend. Drew, I take it you've at least seen the fallout of everything we saw at UFC 299 and all that stuff, right?
I've seen the fights. I don't know about the fallout.
Hell yeah, I like it. That's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know if you got to see all the fights. But before we get to those fights, I got to tell you again about our newest sponsor. And our newest sponsor is, of all things, go figure, we were just talking about MMA. We're talking about the kickboxing world out here. Telling you about our new sponsors at Mitten Muay Thai. Check out what they've got coming. Make sure you guys are in the building on May 3rd for... Look at this. You got people throwing hands, you got knees, you got everything else coming at you. May 3rd, make sure you check it out. Imperial House, Clinton Township, Michigan. Check out the action for yourself. Do yourself a favor. Go catch a knockout. Somebody's going to catch a body May 3rd. All right, but with that said, UFC 299, bro. Corey, we were watching together, and shout out to Drop Zone. Drop Zone came through on Thursday, and if you paid attention, that KO3C parlay, that motherfucker hit. I won some money. It was good times in this mug. I may or may not have lost my other parlays, but I still won 1 out of 3, so we was all right. And it was all money that I was playing on house money, so it was all right. But, Drew, what were your thoughts overall on the card that we saw this past weekend with UFC 299?
It was a good card. I'll start things off by saying that great job, O'Malley. Even though you're just sitting there holding Merab's belt for him.
Wow.
My opinion, I personally think ain't nobody touching Merab. I don't. After watching what he did,
Rashad Evans pretty much said that Merab was that guy when he was on the show too. So, man, I'm not going to lie. That's a fight that sounds interesting. And Sugar said that he thinks that would be the fight to make. So, I don't know. That's going to be interesting.
And I know afterwards when he caught out Ilya, I personally think Ilya is way too much for him.
Yes.
But besides the Merab and Ilya thing, that was probably hands down the best I've ever seen O'Malley look. His distance management was spectacular in that fight. Did a great job with that. I still think he should get rid of the tie-dyed hair or whatever he got going on with that. But either way, he looked really good.
Signature look.
I'm telling you, but also, dude, shout out to Cheeto though. Those shots he was taking.
Oh
my
tough,
God.
Dude.
That was crazy.
The knee to the dome, bro. I heard that one from the kitchen.
Dude, the dude didn't even he didn't even blink. He was just like, oh, whatever.
He just kept coming, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
If anything, he had to have whiplash after that because that was freaking nuts.
Crazy fight. Yeah, all those fights were good, man. And it was good. It was a good night to watch the fights. I don't get to watch. I watch some when I can, but that was one card. I'm like, I got to tune. I was like, I'm gonna tune in for that one and 300. And now that I catch them when I can. But those
just throwing it out there. The invite's open, my guy. We're definitely gonna have to do something for 300.
Hey, man, I'm always here.
You got it. Fucking Corey, J-Bone, you weren't watching with me and Corey, so before me and Corey give our thoughts, what did you think of UFC 299?
It was great, man. Like we talked about last week, that style matchup-wise, it could be better than 300. 300 is full of bangers, but matchup-wise, this one was top to bottom. It really wasn't a bad fight for me. The Macy Barber fight was good for different reasons for me, but the main card, dude,
you ain't wrong.
The first one, now it's all Curtis Blades, bro. That dude, did he do exactly what we said he needed to do or what? He stuffed that takedown and just hammer fisted this dude until he just couldn't take it no more, bro.
The first one that he finally actually stuffs and then literally just does anything offensive whatsoever instead of just relying on his defense the whole time. Just does anything offensive and immediately the fight goes his way by knockout. Yeah. I'm like, dude, come on. Where was this for the whole first round, my guy?
I think that fight right there, I think Jay was a little upset with me about it because he comes to me because we train Saturday mornings. And he comes to me and I help him. I do some picks for him. Because if I'm picking, I go into it. I'm gonna read everything. I'm gonna look at your losses. And other guys wins by sub knockout. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate that. And I told him, I was like, dude, the dude that Blaze is fighting is the real deal, bro. He's gonna sub him. He's gonna sub him. Because Blaze wants to go to the ground all the time. This dude's gonna sub him, and it was looking great. And then that happened, and Chess like, you motherfucker. I was like, oh, my bad. And he needed that one for his parlay. That was his last one he had to hit.
Oh boy.
I was like, bro, I was looking like a genius until the second round.
I thought I was looking like a genius with my parlay too, especially because I had Song Yudong in there, dude. I really thought he was going to get the dub over Petrian. But before I give my thoughts, Corey, what do you think? Uh-oh, Corey's frozen. Corey's frozen. Hit the vape too hard, dummy.
I love the fight.
There he is.
He's back now.
I'm frozen.
You've been sitting there like.
I thought you guys were the one.
This guy's sitting there like this, looking like he's just.
Internet, baby. You gotta love it.
Yeah,
but that being said, like you guys said, it was a great night of fights. Was really impressed with what I seen. My standout moment was Dustin Poirier climbing and proving that point in the division to remain in that place he was. I don't know if any of you guys watch MMA Hour or not, but he kind of got into some personal things about stuff that's been bugging him and stuff, and life was difficult coming off of that Gaethje fight. And to see him get that victory against the new up-and-comer and kind of re-embrace himself, I guess you could say, it was just all around a feel-good story. And to see all kinds of past opponents and just other MMA legends reacting to his knockout and just everybody's super happy for him, that was a good feeling. Like you said, main event, it was a steamrolling where I felt like at any given point, if Cheeto would have just applied a little bit more pressure or would have been able to cut angles better, it could have changed at any given moment. I felt like the danger wasn't implemented enough from Sean where it was fight ending or even enough to really keep Cheeto at bay. It was just Cheeto never kind of covered that middle ground, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I know, like you said, Sean's amazing with his footwork and stuff like that and his distance management, but I just felt like for Cheeto, that was just it wasn't his night, man. And he didn't really start to turn anything on until the 4th and 5th. And then by the time he landed a single good shot, it was the end of the 5th round. So
fighting a fighter like O'Malley, like you have to get in there and make it dirty, right? And like, and the few times that Cheeto did that, he was landing, right? You got to get in there and just turn it into a scrap, you know. And I mean, what's the reach differential? It's probably ridiculous, you know. And you could tell, was it probably 2nd or 3rd round, O'Malley's shots weren't popping as hard, you know. It's like that's your time to go, like, you know, like as you kind of mentioned, the threat wasn't really there no more, you know. Like, and for one, has Cheeto ever been finished with punches?
Mm-hmm. I don't think so. He was the first person he would have been the first person to finish him, which is one of the big things he was talking about going into the fight.
Yeah, you know, and it was an extremely impressive performance by O'Malley, you know, and Cheeto showed his toughness, but it's like, dude, at some point, like, you got to figure out how to, you know, go to plan B, or your cornerman's got to let you know, hey, we got to go to plan B now. Like, you got to get in there. And like, why that wasn't his plan A, I have no idea. Like, that would have been like, if that was my fight, I'm like, we're going to get in there. You're going to get your nose wet and you're going to just be grinding this out, you know? And it seemed like even so, like, what was it, the first fight? Like, you know, it was a lot of leg kicks. I think I barely seen him throw. He didn't throw many of those from what I remember, you know, and it was like,
well, that was what I was going to say in my overall thoughts of that fight. Like, the biggest thing that jumped out to me, and I even said this a few times when I was watching it with Corey, for those of you guys watching, let us know what you think about watch-alongs. I think we're going to start doing those for some of these pay-per-views and stuff like that. But with that being said, man, the one thing that jumped out to me, if you watched the first fight between Cheeto and Sean, Cheeto did such a good job of being able to chop that leg out from Sean. And obviously in the second fight, Sean obviously would be looking for that a little bit more. But with that being said, to your point, Drew, I mean, O'Malley just did such a masterful job of being able to hold the range, keep it where he wanted to, you know, and you also said, you know, he never really tried to throw in any of the grappling stuff, maybe to kind of throw O'Malley off of his game. And I mean, really, even though I think obviously a knockout would have been like more of a newsworthy a newsworthy headline for O'Malley. I think for him to beat Cheeto the way he beat Cheeto was a big statement in and of itself. Again, shout out to Drop Zone, though, because he did call it by decision. But with that being said, it, like you were talking about when we first talked about it, the first name that came to my mind after that fight was over was Merab. And so I'm really interested to see how that fight goes, because we all know that even though Merab can crack somebody, it's no secret what his game plan is going to be, dude. He's going to be trying to take him down, and I don't think that he's going to have to really be on his game with that ground game, or not only the ground game, but being able to keep that range in order for that to work with Merab. But there was a few other things that really kind of stuck out to me. Like the first thing for me was, do you think with the fight, which was the first leg of my parlay, which that kind of sucked, but what were your guys' thoughts on this fight for Petr Yan? You know, I mean, he's had a string of losses, but again, to Corey's point, when we were watching it, his losses have been to like the top guys in the division. So it's not like he's losing to scrubs or anything of that sort. But I'm going to be honest, man. I talk about it on the show all the time. I'm a big believer in momentum. And with the guy that he was in there with in Song Yadong, who really stuck with him the whole fight, I think if he would have been able to put a little bit more pressure on, you definitely could have seen that decision go to Song. But I think with the way that Petr Yan was able to do his takedowns and be able to control the pace of the fight, that's ultimately what got him the W. But Drew, I see it looks like you've got a point. What are your thoughts on this fight for Petr Yan?
Well, my point was I was kind of rewinding back to the old when we were talking about the O'Malley fight. Just want something I touch on real quick is like we were talking about the leg kicks, right? We were talking about how good that O'Malley was keeping the distance. Crack him in the shin a couple of times, crack him in the calves. It's really hard to move when you can't bounce. That was annoying me with how, like, if I was coaching him, I'd be like, listen, we're going right to those leg kicks. We're going to make it dirty. We're going to take his whole step away. It's hard to keep distance management when you're moving out one leg. Plain and simple. I would have tore that lead leg up like he did in the first fight. It was beautiful. Why not go back to that well again? It doesn't work. Move to plan B. But either way, I'm sorry. I had to say that. But
all good, yeah, dude. Like I said, I mean, that was the first thing that stuck out to me, right? Because I really feel like, even though to what I just said, the last few losses that Yan has had has all been to like the top of the division. I mean, let's be honest. If he loses this fight here against Song Yadong, then he's really in trouble. If they, if they don't.
If he lost that one, wasn't it?
What'd you say?
That would have been 4 if he lost.
That would have been 4, yeah. He had 3 straight. That would have been 4.
People were hating on him. Look who he lost to, though.
I agree 100%.
Exactly.
Like, people look at the losses, but they don't know who he lost to. It doesn't make sense.
What were you going to say, Corey?
I was just going to say that, like, if I'm not mistaken, that was also the last fight on his contract. So that was a big thing to have to win that fight, because who knows if they would have even kept him around essentially off the 4 losses. I mean, a guy like that with the level of talent, I would have been surprised to see him go, even with the contract expiring. But that being said, that adds an even another element to it. But that being said, the fight itself, I mean, I was watching the John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast, and they were talking about it, and they had Merab's coach on, and he was talking about how basically Petr Yan had like PTSD from the fight with him. I mean, it was so bad in the first round, all the feints. He was just literally biting on every single potential thing that was being thrown. Any thought of a look of a takedown, he was diving to the ground. And to see him kind of reverse that and get back to his own ways, and then get that second round and really turn up the volume in the third and really win it kind of decisively, at least in my eyes, with that third round. It was good to see if you're a fan of Petr Yan. I mean, to have a guy like that in the division, that always kind of adds a fun fight no matter who he's with. I love to see him fight, fan or not, but to see him get back on his horse, I was hoping for Song Yadong to continue his rise, but he just gassed out too quick, man. He really did. He didn't have anything left by the midway of the second round, and you could just see it. Like I was saying earlier, Peter Yan finally got that momentum going his way, and it seems like for these type of guys that are in these down slumps of their career, it really just takes like 1-2 good rounds, and next thing you know, you're right back in it. I mean, and that's what I feel like this is a clear example of.
Yeah, it was impressive to see. Like his last 3 losses was it Aljamain, Sean O'Malley, which he did not lose that fight, and then Merab. Those are his past 3 losses.
Yeah.
All guys. 3 good losses.
Yeah,
you can't argue that, dude. I mean, like
granted,
we talked about, he's fighting.
I'm probably coming off as a huge O'Malley hater, which whatever. But I got respect for the dude's fight game. He's good, but he was gifted that title shot. He did not beat Peter Yan. I'm sorry.
I said the first thing upon first viewing. I said the same exact thing. I was like, "Wow, I can't believe watching it back." And then also watching the YouTube channel, The Weasel does really good breakdowns of fights and does actual like round by round, medium, light, heavy strikes and kind of really breaks it down. You can really see in that regard then even more so why they went the O'Malley way. But after a second viewing, I was like, okay, I leaned more towards the O'Malley corner. But first viewing, I was
I'm going by first viewing. I mean, I don't I'm not gonna go sit back. I can't. I got 7 kids.
I get it. Yeah. I get
it. And I can't go back and rewatch a fight. But I'm just going by the first one. But like, if you look at it, either way, Aljamain, O'Malley, Merab. Those are three really. I want to say
that's
there's
the
such
top
thing
of
as
the
a good
division.
loss, but those are three people that are really, like. That's good.
If you were going to have trouble with somebody, it should be one of them 3 because regardless of who you've got as your top guy, those got to be like the top 3 or 4 guys that you talk about when you talk about that division. But speaking of those kind of fights, man, I want to ask your guys' thoughts and everybody who's chiming in, whether that's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you let us know what you think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button, and please share the stream. But with that being said, another thing that was very interesting to me is we had the debut of MVP Michael Venom Page, another guy who's coming off of a loss in Bare Knuckle FC, which if you're a fan of Bare Knuckle FC, I suggest that you very much should stay tuned and hit that button because I got something cool coming for that. But with that being said, I didn't know how to feel about him coming into the UFC, especially after that loss to Michigan's own Mike Perry on that one, man. I didn't know how he was going to rebound coming back to MMA. Not that he ever had fully stopped training MMA, but to come into the UFC off of his run in Bellator and then doing what he did in Bare Knuckle FC and then to have this fight. But I think they gave him the perfect opponent, not in an opponent that I'm saying was an easy person for him to beat, but a perfect person in the opponent's standpoint that it was going to make for an exciting fight. Styles make fights. Those 2 guys together, I kind of figured was going to end up turning into something similar of what we saw. But I got to tell you, man, my first thought also is, because we've already seen off of the performance that we saw from Michael Venom Page, that a lot of fans are calling for him versus Wonder Boy. And I'm not mad at that fight either. Here's all I'm saying. I thought it was a great debut for Michael Venom Page. I thought he did a very good job in what he did. I liked the spinning back elbows that we saw. We saw a lot of the creativity that made him a fan favorite in Bellator. But my thought is this. How much do you think that debut was based on how well Michael Venom Page did? And how much do you think that has to do with the opponent he had? Because even if we get a fight against him versus Wonder Boy next, again, that's an opponent that will play into the type of fight that Michael Venom Page likes to have, and that's a striking fight. But, Drew, I'll let you go first. What were your thoughts on the debut of MVP, and do you think there's anything to that? Because I would like to think if you were the UFC that you would want to kind of dispel that. The stigma on MVP's run in Bellator was that they gave him a lot of cans in the beginning before he started fighting tough guys. And Kevin Holland is by no means a can, and neither is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But they're both guys that with their style will oblige in a type of fight that, goes that way. And we saw Kevin Holland be able to take Michael Venom Page down, and he's not even one of the top level wrestlers at 170. So if MVP does start to move up that ranking, I feel like that could be a problem at 170. But what did you think of the debut of Michael Venom Page?
Well, that was your typical UFC build-up fight, right? Like they're gonna give you someone they're bringing in that has, kind of hot. Yeah, everybody wants to see him, fight. They're gonna give him that type of fight, right? Kevin Holland isn't, he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's not super known for having tremendous takedowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Majority of his fights happen on the feet, minus like the Jacare, but he knocked Jacare out when he was on his back, like the dude's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, great ground game, but he's not really known for taking the fight there, and so I feel like that fight was, like you said, tailor-made for him to win, right? Now the Wonder Boy fight, both same styles, or similar styles, karate styles. I believe they both already said, though, I read somewhere that they won't fight each other, that they're friends, training partners, or whatever. They won't fight. They have no interest in fighting each other.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so I read that on the MMA Underground. So they that would be a great fight. That would be a good fight, but would it though? You know what I'm saying? It was like one of those things. Like, they may know each other and
styles make fights, well. Like you said, it could be a case of two people canceling each other out.
Right. And nobody wants to see that. So, and if they want to test him, you think back to his Bellator days. Like he didn't get pushed a lot. I think the one of his losses in Bellator, I believe, was Douglas Lima. I think it was Lima he lost to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Lima tore that leg up a little bit. And he was making him fight. And that's what you got to do. Also, I think that with the size of the ring that UFC uses, though, benefits Michael Venom Page very much so. They use that big ring. He can move. He can cut his angles. He can stay on the outside. But until he gets that wrestler that can cut that that ring off on him,
which there's a lot of those at 170.
There is, but he presents huge reach advantage. I believe Kevin Holland had the reach advantage in that fight by like an inch or so, which was really, really bizarre to see. But I believe the UFC will keep building him up with the strikers up until there comes a point in that division in particular that they're going to run out. You're going to run into those wrestlers. Once you get to the top upper echelon of that division, you're going to run into those wrestlers. But I personally would love to see him fight Colby Covington and embarrass Colby, but that's we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, now would be a good time for him to catch him. But, boy, Colby's a guy well, shit, I said that in his last fight. You'd have thought Colby was going to try to take him down, and that didn't happen. So who knows? Maybe he might not try to take down MVP. But, Corey, what did you think about the debut of MVP?
I feel like I'm more impressed than the average commenter, or at least, like, the reaction that I seem to be finding online. To your guys' point, Kevin Holland's, no slouch. We've seen him struggle with the karate style in Wonder Boy, so I kind of called it on the show. I felt like this was going to be a really good matchup in his favor, but we've seen that play out where MVP was really good at managing range. He basically lunged in with shots, landed kind of like a fencer more than even like a striker, and would poke and prod and then get out. To your point, Kyle, I really liked the combination that he was adding with like the spinning back elbows and stuff like that to kind of add some danger when they were up close. Other than that, man, it was a pretty impressive performance. It wasn't nothing crazy. I called on the show that I thought he was going to have his Michael Chandler over Dan Hooker type of moment. I don't think it was quite to that level. That's for sure. It wasn't the knockout and, crowd going crazy, but it was an impressive 3-round performance. I really wonder which way the UFC is going to match him, kind of like you guys were just saying. There's like the likes of Sean Brady or something in the division that would be a really good test for somebody like him. We've seen him kind of struggle with the striking a little bit, but of course he's super dominant with his wrestling, his takedowns, and his jiu-jitsu game.
That's an interesting matchup too.
You know, there's plenty, like even a Vicente Luque or somebody like that.
That's another name I've heard thrown around, which would really test him, because Luque, even though Luque is a striker too, Luque I feel like is going to be in his fucking face.
Yeah, there's
like that whole fight.
There's definitely good matchups for him, and then there's also guys like you had said, Kyle, that are kind of like more tailor-made and easier matchups for him to win. Potentially like a Wonder Boy who's later in his career and stuff like that. But it really matters which way the UFC wants to matchmake him. I don't know if it's Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, but whoever's in charge of that division and which way they want to kind of test the Bellator waters, I guess you could say, with MVP.
Yeah, anybody that's
going as high as Ian Gary?
That would be an interesting fight.
It'd be a good one down the block.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
street after about.
I think you want to build some road behind him, but
yeah, because I feel like both of those guys are trying to build up right now. Yeah, I think anybody that's a grappler,
if he can win like 2 or 3 more real quick, that'd be a huge main event. Like,
I think anybody that's a grappler should be chomping the bit to get at Michael Venom Page, because that's a lot of limb to grab onto.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And something else, I wonder, like, how much of a thing do you think it was? You know, we heard Kevin Holland say it after the fight was over. How much of the fact that, like I mentioned, you know, I mean, let's be honest, Michael Venom Page didn't always have the best competition when he was in Bellator. And you heard Kevin Holland say after the fight that he lost to a Bellator guy. How much of that do you think really plays a factor into how he prepared for this fight? Or do you think that like, really maybe he didn't train hard enough for a guy like Michael Venom Page, thinking, oh, he's just a Bellator guy and he's not really, you know, at UFC caliber?
If that's the case, then shame on Kevin Holland if he didn't do that, because
I'm not saying that's what he did, but he did say that in his interview.
If that is the case, shame on him, because if I'm fighting a mailman, I'm still training like I'm fighting the best in the world.
Hey, I'm a mailman, motherfucker. I'll kick you in the nuts.
Listen, I'm just saying. Nothing against mailman.
I used to be a mailman.
That was good. I'm glad you're a mailman.
And please don't kick me in the nuts. That'd be rude.
Hey, look, it just makes it easier to choke, all right?
No,
there are no rules in a street fight, right?
That might make me angry. I might bite you at that point.
Oh, God.
It was going to start, I was just going to choke you, but then you kicked me in the nuts. Now I got to bite you.
Oh, shit. But, yeah, man, I always hate when you hear things like that. I'd like to think with a guy that's so experienced like a Kevin Holland, I don't think by any means he necessarily took MVP lightly. But speaking of taking things lightly, bro, another one of the fights that we got to talk about in this one, and I'm so pissed that I didn't hit go on my bet because Corey literally could see it on the fucking TV. I was going to hit the button and I didn't, and I fucking paid for it, because if you watch the show with Drop Zone, you heard it here from all of us, except J-Bone. J-Bone picked Benoit Saint Denis. I tried to tell y'all, don't bet against the Diamond. Something about this fight, man. He's another guy who, like what we were talking about with Petrian earlier, like Dustin Poirier's losses have been to nothing but killers at 155. And anyone who knows anything about MMA knows that the 155-pound division has been full of killers for years and is still stocked full of killers as we speak. But again, like I also talk about on this show all the time, I'm a big believer in momentum. And this kid, Benoit Saint Denis, is scary and showed why he's scary with what he did to Dustin Poirier in round 1, because he was beating the dog shit out of Dustin Poirier in round 1. But in round 2, you just saw that composure, the wisdom, that knowledge, that OG that is Dustin the Diamond Poirier, and man, did he put it on Benoit Saint Denis and showed why you got to have a gas tank. It can't just run through everybody in round 1. Drew, what were your thoughts on Dustin the Diamond reminding everybody what time it is?
Man, you do not sleep on that man. I mean, if you sleep on him, you might end up sleeping. You know,
Facts.
And
Facts.
That was a good fight, you know. And Benoit came out looking like a world beater, man. And the craziest thing is I heard the commentators talk about it too, and I was just like, man, they're so right. It's like Poirier did not have to take that fight. You know, that takes
at all.
You know, and he's like, he was just thinking, I had nothing else to do that day. I'm gonna go fight. You know, and that's awesome, dude. You know, because like he did not have to do that. You know, because like that was like a to me it was almost. I'm glad it ended the way it did, because if it was a decision, it would have been like, well, it was a lose-lose for him, because like, okay, well, you should have beat him. Right. And if you lost to him, it's like, well, you lost to a guy ranked much below you. You know, so it was a risk for him. You know, but with the way it ended, I think that rose Poirier's stock more down. You know, if it would have went to a decision,
100%.
I think it would be like, well, you went to decision with the guy that's ranked much below you. I think, what is he, like 12th or something like that? I forgot the ranking. But so, you know, and you know, kudos to him, you know, because it takes balls to do that, you know. But right now the division's kind of locked up for a minute, you know. So like he's like, you got to fight. Fighters fight. That's what we do, you know. So, but that was a risk, you know. But you know, it was kind of at first it was a risk with low reward, but you know, it ended up being a good, because he got himself a highlight, you know, knockout on that, you know, good finish on that, which was awesome. And I seen somewhere that Benoit was saying something about the medication he was on. It's like, dude, hush.
I hate that stuff.
Get back in the gym.
Right.
Whatever. You, at the end of the day,
a long way to go.
Dude, at the end of the day, you chose to walk in there and fight still. That's on you.
Yeah.
I hate when people say that. That always reminds me back to a buddy of me and Big Don's, old Miles Jury, the time that Diego Sanchez was talking about eating beef tartare after they fought in the UFC, and saying because he ate raw meat the day before the fight was why he got beat up.
As somebody who has had to deal with a couple rounds of antibiotics, though, they will kick your ass, though. So,
but he chose to walk in that motherfucker.
That's what I was just gonna say, though. Is I agree with your point. Is if you're gonna continue to make that walk, you gotta, you know, you gotta live that walk.
Hey, look, it's not like he had a horrible performance. I mean, looking at the stats, he literally doubled everything Dustin did.
See, my thing is though too, this if you knew he would, you know, if I knew I'm on that, either, okay, he went out to try getting that round one finish, knowing that Poirier is a son of a gun to finish. Dial back, bro. You know, it's a 3-round fight. Let's pace ourselves here. Because he was winning exchanges. He was looking good.
It was a 5.
That was a 5-er?
Yeah, it was a 5-er.
Yeah, it was main event.
They put main event rounds on there?
Or they gave him main event rounds. Like, I think Poirier wanted the main event rounds.
Yeah, well, they disregard what I said then, because you know damn well you ain't going 5 rounds on that shit. So try to knock him out the first round. Completely agree with what he did then. I thought it was a 3-rounder.
Well, like you said, I mean, first round he doubled. He had 69 shots landed on Poirier, and Poirier had 25. Yeah, that's more than double. The takedowns were there. It just he had it all, man.
I watched O'Malley talk about the fight, and he kind of said, when you're fighting somebody like that brings that much pressure in the first round, you got to try your best to just match that energy and let them burn themselves out. And that's what I feel like Poirier did a really good job of in that first round. Is he did eat a couple shots. He did get pushed up against the fence. He did, you know, have to deal with the takedowns. A lot of them that he put himself in because of pulling Gilly. But I mean, it was a fun fight, though, man. It was a fun fight while it lasted. I love the fact that Poirier was able to deal with that pressure because, like I said, that pressure was tough, man. I mean, a lot of lesser guys, you know, top of the division or not, wouldn't have been able to deal with that type of stuff. And, yeah, man, it was just such a vintage Poirier performance, especially to land the big hook at the end to put him out. Like, that's just Dustin Poirier's fighting style right there. He deals with the storms that you throw at him, and then always seems to find his moment in the fire and get it done. It's just that's why I'm such a big fan of him.
And then seeing him on the MMA Hour, man, like hearing his story and what he was going through.
Yeah,
such more big respect for Dustin, man. That's a guy you never want to put your money against him. That's for sure. I found out the hard way on Saturday. I'll eat my words on that one.
That was one of those fights when I was talking to Jay about. I was like, that's a fight I don't want to touch, you know, because like, you know, Benoit's coming in with, you know, a lot of hype, and it's like, but you don't ever count out Poirier. I was like, I'm not touching that fight. I would not bet on that fight, you know. And I'm glad. I don't know if he did or not. Jay does like a million different parlays, so I don't know if he did or not, but that's his thing.
I'm with it, dude. Like I said, it was a hell of a debut, not a debut, but a hell of a step up fight for him on that one. It was one where you could really go both ways when you think about it, because flat out, man. I mean, that either could have been, the fight that propels that guy into, superstardom, or that could be, the fight that, obviously did what it did. But hey, Bruce, I see you in the comments. Shout out to Christian Rodriguez, man.
He's in the house. He's watching.
Yes, man. We were talking about his fight with Jay out here. So shout out to the big man. I didn't know all that going into the fight. So all respect for stepping in there, doing your thing in the cage. Keep up with what you're doing on the fight stuff. We might have to chop it up here on the show one of these days. But I don't know, man. Like I said, UFC 299 was one hell of a ride. I'm so ready for UFC 300. Shout out to our guy, Jamal Hill from here in the Mitten. Everybody that's sleeping on the guy, and it's like all of a sudden they have forgot that the guy was world champion and shit. Like, I don't know about you,
Beat his
UFC.
coach. He beat the man's coach. He beat the man's coach. Yeah.
Not wrong.
He beat the man's coach before Father Time did, that's for sure. So
I mean, look, you will never hear me say a bad word about Glover Teixeira. So the fact that he was able to do what he did to Glover Teixeira, period, says all you need to know.
Yeah.
It's got to be Michigan out here. I'm hoping that Jamal Hill gets him a dub on this one for sure.
Jamal, it's the same thing, right? You sleep on Jamal Hill, he ends up with you sleeping. The same concept.
Yep.
The man's got power in his hands, regardless. And even though he's not from here, I still think he's a Michigan fighter, and I still cheer him out every time he's out there. So
hey man, he mainly trains for the most part out of here, so with Black Lion and all them. So to me, that's a Michigan guy, Michigan all the way. I'm with it. We have covered pretty much everything that is UFC 299. We talked a little bit about Motor City Cage fights. We talked about all day MMA and Jiu Jitsu. Drew, before we get out of here, let them know where they can come train with y'all, where they can find you on social media, all that good stuff. Let them know.
So, yeah, the gym, like I said, the gym's in Flat Rock. Social media, I don't even know our Instagram handle. I don't even use. I'm not the one that does that. My business partner does. So, just look for All Day MMA BJJ. I'm sure you'll find it.
It's tagged in our post on IG. Make sure you follow us on that.
I don't mess with a lot of socials. Yeah, man, like I said, anybody's welcome to train. Like I mentioned earlier, C-Rod, you're here. You can see this. Come work out, bro. If I could be a part of, any help in your journey, please come in, man. I got you. And welcome anytime, brother. But yeah, with that being said, man, everybody's always welcome inside those doors. I don't turn anybody away, regardless of where you're from, your affiliation, where you train at. I just want everybody to get better at, as a state, us grow together, because I feel like Michigan fighters are very slept on. And I feel like we have a crap ton of talent here. So I really want to see the sport grow, and if I can help out any way that I can, even though I can't, I don't fight anymore. Speaking of which, friendo, my number, you know what I'm asking for. I just want to throw that out there. So, anyways, yeah, man. So if any way that I can help, I will, man. Help this sport grow, man. Cause like I said, I love this state. I think this state has a ton of potential. I just want to see it get bigger, and I want us to get the respect that I felt like we've earned a long time ago, and it's time for us to cash in. So, any way I can help, I'm there.
I mean, we've seen Detroit and Michigan as a whole kind of be a hub for boxing for so long. It'd be great to see MMA kind of fill in them shoes.
Yeah,
we have the fighters. We have the fighters. We do. It's just I feel like we don't have the something I learned a long time ago through like when I went to the Ultimate Fighter trials and stuff. It's like if you're not from a big gym, they don't give a shit. And I think our issue is that we lack that huge gym. That big commercial gym, and which I'm not saying that's what you need, because look at the fighters we've had sent there, and they all come from smaller gyms, and that's what the great thing is about it, is the fact that you don't need that $1 million facility to become great. You don't, you just need a good coach, good team behind you, people who care about you, and that's how you get better, and that's how you get to that level. But I feel like the UFC only takes people from those big gyms. But with that being said, if we continue the pace we're on and we all keep growing together, I don't see how our numbers. I mean, I don't even know the numbers of Michigan guys we have in the UFC right now, but within the next 5 to 10 years, I don't know why that can't double, triple. I feel like, we are a hotbed, especially coming from this solid wrestling state that we have. Like how we don't have more there blows my mind, because there are so many people that came to the state that never made it that deserve to be there. And, I feel like we get put on the back burner, and that annoys me. So
I can't agree more, man. I mean, I've been around the MMA game here in the Mitten for more than 15 years myself. There's a lot of killers that come up out of this state that a lot of people don't know. And it's about time people fuck around and find out, man. I'm with that Michigan all day when it comes to MMA and all other things with that. Big Don, I like that idea. Kamaru Usman maybe for MVP. I don't know if that'll be the next one. I think that's a couple fights down the road, like you said as well. But with that being said, shout out to our sponsors, Potter's Tree Service, Mitten Muay Thai, and for all of our pro wrestling fans, I am bringing you a hell of an episode this Thursday. I've got the return of our guy, Chris Van Vliet, Emmy Award-winning interviewer. He's got fucking 300 and some thousand subscribers on the YouTube, interviewed everybody from John Cena to Salma Hayek and everybody in between. And he's a dope-ass dude. It's a long time since his first debut episode here on the show. Looking forward to bringing Chris back through here. Funny how giving somebody a ride back to the hotel helps things. But until next time and in the in-between time, check out the sponsors. Make sure you check them out. Hit them links. And until next time in the in-between time. Peace.
Can I give one more shout-out?
Do it.
2 more shout out. One big shout out to my coach Big Don. Another one, big shout out to Corey's shirt. That thing is fire. I want that.
Yeah,
bro. This whole time I've been watching, I'm just looking at Corey's shirt like I want that thing.
Speaking of shirts, we got a new shirt coming. Ring the motherfucking bell. Get you a shirt.
I love me some dirt bike jerseys, man. It plays back to my childhood. So I got